5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome to the Rideshare Zone, where every ride matters. And now, here is your host, Shawn, the Colorado Rideshare Guy.
Welcome in, everyone, to episode 29 of the Rideshare Zone, right on time. That's 6:02, 20:02, 8:02, depending on where you are in the world. Anyway, welcome in. What's up, Ben? How you doing, brother? Bubba Sue, Awesome Amy, and everyone else that we got in here. Anyway, so yeah, welcome to episode 29. We got Waymo lied. We're going to cover that one, talk about it, and we're going to let the math prove that that they lied. And rideshare drivers in Nashville are being racially profiled. And we have a Lyft driver that took a book, pulled a chapter out of the book of Rideshare Rodeo and his playbook and what he always has going on with it. So we're going to talk about that and a lot more this evening. So anyway, let's get to this. And starting off with Waymo, as we always do. So Waymo lied to y'all. I don't care what they say. I don't care what the official reports say or anything. So this is stepping back and talk about that crash that happened a few weeks ago in Dallas. So for those of you who don't know what's going on, we'll catch you up to speed really quick while we say hey to Traveler for coming in. But so the initial report and everything. So there was an accident involving a pedestrian. They were hit by a vehicle, and then they were thrown or flung or whatever great descriptor you want to use into the path in the next traffic lane of a Waymo. So apparently this person who died went flying across, so got hit by the one car and then got hit by the Waymo. Now, the interesting thing that made me really suspicious to begin with this is when Waymo puts out their little statement, they said, oh, well, it was only going 24 miles an hour. It's always going 24 miles an hour whenever they hit whenever they're involved in some kind of incident like this. It was going 24 miles an hour when that kid flew out behind the double parked car. So that's a little suspicious, but whatever. We're going to let them go with that 24 mile an hour speed because that's pretty slow. Now, Waymo also said that they saw that the vehicle made a detection 150 feet away from the deceased person. Okay. And then they said Waymo 150 feet away. So we got 24 miles per hour. We got 50 feet away. We know this was an area in Dallas, so there's probably not any kind of, grade one way or another to either make it try and stop quicker or faster. And, Waymo supposedly have a better reaction time than people. So do y'all think if you saw something, if you were going 24 miles away, 24 miles an hour, that you could see a Waymo, if you could see a Waymo, you see anything in the road and be able to stop for it? What do you think about that? So, you're right, Amy. It says 25 miles an hour can still do damage, but they said that the vehicle began slowing. It slowed down. It did not stop. They say it slowed down, and that's the most interesting thing about this. And so, let's do a little math. So, I call BS on this whenever I saw it and heard it. And now we're gonna bring up the math. So this math came from omnicalculator.com, and I did go ahead and I fact checked everything because it's not the NHTSB, but there's a lot of different government organizations that use that, and the distance of it. I ran the formula manually. It was very painful because math is not my strongest suit, but it came within, like, the official one, it came in at 53.95. Now we're making some assumptions here, so let's go through this real quick. So we had the vehicle speed of 24 miles per hour, as Waymo said in their release. Now, where we have to make some assumptions, because we don't know what the reaction time once something is detected by Waymo. I'm sure that's part of their intellectual property. But what we do know from many, many studies is the average human reaction time is 3/4 of a second. Okay, so we put in the 0.75 in there. This is so we're putting in the human factors because Waymo doesn't want to share their secrets with us. So we'll just say, could a human stop? So we put, again, road grade, we put that at 0. There wasn't anything that said it was up or down, and wouldn't have been anything significant anyway that would have still changed the results to where we're going to end up with this. Okay, so then you have a friction coefficient. Now, this is where it gets really, really tricky, and if it does end up going to court, there's going to be friction coefficients going to play into this. They're going to look at the type of tires, the tread depth on the tires. They're going to look at the actual road surface, and they will bring out this heavy block with a piece of a tire on it, and it has a little, looks like a fishing scale on it, and it will measure the weight of it, and then they'll do additional math to figure out what the actual friction coefficient is. Bear with me, people. It's just really important that I explain this because Waymo's full of shit, and I'm proving it right here, right now, and it shouldn't have made contact with the individual. I'm not saying Waymo caused the death. Not at all. This is about should that vehicle have been able to stop? And my answer is yes, and that's why we're going through this. So the friction coefficient is an assumed number as well, just based on normal dry conditions and an average size vehicle, which the Jaguar type J type, whatever, they weigh approximately 3,000 pounds. And it didn't have a passenger with them at the time. So anyway, the vehicle, according to the research, weighs approximately 3,000 pounds. We probably threw a few hundred other pounds in because of the Waymo technology, yada, yada, yada. So we're still within the safe zone of our assumptions because this is a step below Mythbusters. This isn't, we're not actually running the full science numbers on this. We're not going to court to testify on it. Although I would, under these assumptions, to say that Waymo should have been able to stop if we put in normal conditions. Because the bottom line on this, folks, the stopping distance with a human being at 24 miles per hour is 53.95 feet. That's almost a third of what the Waymo, because the Waymo detected it and then made contact with it. When the Waymo made contact with the subject, and we don't know what contact means, but they struck them. We don't know if they ran them over or what, but they were doing 5 miles per hour. Again, same story that they said with the child. I swear it was 5 miles per hour with them too. So whatever. Waymo, bottom line is your stupid little robot car lost to a human being. So don't tell me your cars are safer than humans when a human could stop in 53.95 feet and your car didn't bother to either stop, because they didn't say it actually stopped. It just said it struck them at 5 miles per hour. Okay, in all the releases. So still had plenty of time. I think if we threw in some alcohol equations into a human, that's probably within the same range, because your response time's gonna start lagging and everything. So Waymos operate like a drunk human being, I guess, is going to be my conclusion to all this. We could do some more math if we want to get bored, or if Waymo wants to get butthurt about what I'm saying about reporting with this, but the math doesn't lie, guys. That's just is what it is. So, I don't know. Let's see. Bubba Sue says liar malfunction. Oh, liar. No, I think liar instead of LiDAR is probably more appropriate. No, I think they're just not programmed to do it. I mean, we had the same results with the kid. It was going 24 miles per hour, made contact with it at 5 miles per hour. So apparently they're just programmed not to stop for people. I don't know. Waymo, tell us what that is. Because Bubba Sue says it's a liar malfunction. And I think there's a whole bunch of liars malfunctioning whenever they give out their little corporate feel-good statements about this stuff. And the math is what it is, guys. So, Waymo, prove them wrong. Somebody with somewhere that's going to sue them. Let's do some real tests with this. There's going to be plenty of qualified experts for this one. So now, again, I am not saying the Waymo caused the death of that individual. Okay. The vehicle that was doing 35 miles an hour and launched them 30 feet, that impact was probably the cause of death. But again, we don't know all the details of what happened. Did the individual get ran over by the Waymo? Did it just make contact with it? If it just made contact with it at 5 miles per hour, probably was not the resultant death. But what about next time this happens and the vehicle's doing 24 miles per hour and there's half that distance to cover? So are you only going to still be doing 5 miles an hour when you got to stop in 75 feet? Well, guess what? A normal human being still could have stopped in half that distance under this scenario. So the next time this happens, it could be that person getting struck didn't initially get struck by something else, or that person fell in the middle of the road and the Waymo detected it at 150 feet, but drives over it at 5 miles an hour. Well, guess what, y'all? That could be freaking fatal. So this is the kind of stuff that Waymo needs to be examining and be open about and saying, this is not acceptable. This doesn't meet human standards. So anyway, yep, we're off to the races on our Waymo rant. Gave them a break last week because I wanted to do some additional research on this. And so now there we are. We're back to Waymo, being bad Waymo. By the way, I'm going to put all the research stuff, all the different links and everything in its own document about why I think, humans are, why the math says humans are better than Waymos. I'm going to put that on my Patreon, and that'll be out there for everybody. Join the Patreon. You can find me at CO Ride Guy on my Patreon to find the extra content. And right now it's free to join it. I'm working out some kinks, so once you join my Patreon, pretty soon you're going to get a membership. You're going to get a gift membership to the paid membership with it. And it's going to be called the Founding Members. And it'll be 12 months that I renew each of you that stay on there that first are part of the Founding Members of my Patreon. So you'll have access to that content, and where eventually other people won't have access to that kind of stuff. and then some people end up paying for it. But right now, we're gonna leave that out there. So any of you math and physics nerds that really want to geek out, it's all going to be out there for you. And so trying to be a good boy so I can mark my times a lot better before I move on to new segments, so I can pull stuff out for my whatchamacallit for long form content and things like that. So I want to try and put that out for a lot of people that don't have time and they just want to see certain segments of it. So anyway, bear with me, guys. I am making a conscious effort to try and start doing this. So I'm just going to say 16. I went on for 16 minutes ranting about that, and y'all are still here. Episode 29, Steve. And look at that, Steve. I just marked my time finishing up that segment. It was really awkward because I had to say what it was. But anyway, welcome in. I was talking to Steve about that I'm trying to do some stuff to, add some value and do some different things with this. And so there we go. Steve, you got to stick with us, man, because later on I have one that came out of your playbook. You're gonna appreciate this Lyft driver, man. That's all I got to say right now. So, California is in love with Waymo. While we're still talking about Waymo, and so just real briefly touching on it, and I'm going to move on to the other one. That remember the injunction in, I think it was Santa Monica, where the Waymos were making too much more noise in the middle of the night, and they got a cease and desist saying you can't conduct business. Well, they went to the appellate courts, filed an emergency order, and they right now have that reversed. So now they're back to making noise and racket, and who gives a crap about regular citizens and them needing sleep, because we got to feed and care for the robot cars in the middle of the frickin' night. So anyway, that's still going on. There'll be the official hearing going on. I think it was in October or whatever. But right now, that got reversed. So one judge saying, yeah, you all need your sleep, peace and quiet. Another judge must got a big suitcase of money. And now they're back to operating and making noise. So anyway, back to California being in love with Waymo. California Public Utilities Commission just granted an expansion authority to both the Jaguars and the Ojai. That's the Ojais are the Zeeks, Chinese-made vans. They're granting expanded operating authority for them. They're back on the highways, as we already know, with that. But now they're going to be crossing over the bridges, going up into Sonoma and Napa and all that. And even into Sac. Now, I don't know if the distance between like San Francisco to Sac, if that's all going to be covered as well. I didn't pull this map out and look and see exactly all the counties that are covering it, but they're having huge expansion, guys. I mean, with this new license operating authority that they have, drivers, particularly in California, listen to this. And I'm not trying to fearmonger or anything. I'm trying to say, yeah, I know you have the opportunity for your unionization, and some of you think that's great. I don't think it's great. What I'm going to tell you are the absolute facts. The unions are not going to stop Waymo from operating. And then once Elon starts going with the cyber taxis, California is going to be a huge. It's just going to be huge. I'm not even going to speculate numbers with it. This right here, this new operating authority is going to just change the whole game with it. I mean, if you're going from Santa Clarita and it says in Thousand Oaks, and then all the way down to San Diego. And it does say from Sacramento to San Jose in the article. So, and then of course you can go from San Jose to San Francisco, go across the bridge. So they're going to be operating across the bridges and everything. And yeah, wait till that happens when all of a sudden the Waymos decide we're just going to shut down in the middle of the highway. They've done it on the regular streets of San Francisco, so why not on one of the bridges or in the tunnel? If they go under the tunnel of the bay, what kind of mess they're going to cause for that? This is going to really be interesting. But drivers, the stuff isn't going to change the long term of what's happening. They have too much invested. They're continuing to push forward. They've paid off too much in lobbying or whatever you want to call it to make this work, and they're earning their keep with Alphabet, so they're going to keep letting them expand. And their burn rate is not as bad as a lot of startups, so their burn rate is equaling about what their income is. So that means they're operating, they're not making a profit, but they're not losing money either. And usually with new things like this, you see them running their burn rate is that's what kills these things. Because like with eVTOL and a lot of these companies, that they're burning through so much capital to get things going. Waymo's beyond that. They're not doing that. They're done with the grand experiment. This is true expansion stuff going on, guys. So, and California loves them. And California's going to keep supporting it. So, right now they say they have about 3,000 of the Jaguar I-Pace cars. So they'll just keep going crazy with the manufacturing of it, particularly when the Chinese manufacturer Zeekr says, "Ooh, we can't make drones, we can't make routers, we can't do all this other stuff, but we can bring vehicles in and do surveillance and everything else that the Americans fear with our Ojai electric cars." So, thank you, Waymo, for bringing in Chinese surveillance to our country. Done with that one. Time to take the tinfoil hat off, but I know I'm right. All right. Rideshare drivers in Nashville being racially profiled. That's what the story headline says, and that's what the allegation is. So, a union of Nashville rideshare and taxi drivers say that some of its members are being targeted disproportionately and even racially profiled. Now, the interesting thing is, and this is by Department of Transportation traffic officers, so basically parking cops. And there's two in particular that they're naming in this petition, and they've got 300 of the union drivers to sign up for it. Now, I'm pretty sure this union is about like CIDU in Colorado. They're worthless as tits on a boar hog, but they think, and some people think, that they're doing some good for the world. But doing crap like this, even if it's true, does not help with racial tensions. But what I'm going to tell you is, have they done any kind of racial profiles to see what the balance of is? Because they're like, and they specifically say about it, that they don't say white drivers are getting privileged, but they made very strong implications that white drivers don't get treated the same way. And, well, is it that they don't get treated the same way, or does the demographic have more minorities? Because I'm going to tell you, I'm a minority in the rideshare world as a driver. people tell me that all the time, so I'm not making this crap up, and I hear from all races, okay? And there's more than... Sorry, I saw the chat and got distracted. And so this whole racial profile thing is just really stupid from where they're coming from, and they're going after these parking cops, and they're saying some of these drivers have got multiple tickets, and it coming up as much as $100 each ticket. Well, if they've got multiple infractions, that's no longer racial profiling. That's just an insubordinate or somebody who thinks they're above the law. And if they're not guilty of these parking tickets, then go fight the parking tickets. But probably more than likely what happened, and it might be a cultural thing, they may have been an exchange of words and this and that, because different cultures are very, in different age groups. I can be very abrasive, and people just say it's because I'm an old guy, whatever. I just say it's because I'm Gen X, and I don't care about your feelings. But anyway, they put all these unnecessary elements in there. Why don't they just say drivers are being targeted in pickup areas and designated rideshare zones that they're allowed to be picking up in, and they're getting tickets for it? You know why? Because they probably are not supposed to be parking there during the times that they did. Now, Nashville, for those of you that don't know, has their downtown area. They have, I think it's about a dozen designated rideshare zone pickup areas. And there's only certain times, and they're also loading zones. Now, stupid thing with it is they're only allowed to be parked there for 3 minutes. Now, we all know that the timer with Lyft is 5 minutes. The timer with Uber is 7 minutes. So I don't know what the hell you're supposed to do with that extra time. So I'm sure a lot of these drivers are getting frustrated with it. And again, this is a lack of communication of what's going on. I mean, I've had downtown Colorado Springs by the bus depot, I've had these security guards that, think that they're traffic cops tell me I can't park somewhere. And I just sit there and point up at the sign and say, that's a freaking loading zone. They said, well, you can't park there. We're told nobody can park there. I said, I don't care. Call someone with a badge and a ticket book if you think I'm doing something wrong. And that's the exchange I have with them. So people who are given a little bit of power and behave like that, you're damn right. Someone like me and a whole lot of other people are going to get pissed off at it. So I don't think there's enough information. I think this union is just doing stupid crap to cause noise and friction, and they're not actually doing anything to serve the population of drivers that have drank the poison Kool-Aid. They're trying to make headlines, not make a difference. That's the bottom line with this. All right, let's see what is going on in the chat before I get over to my next rant on here. Welcome in, Rideshare Warrior Rick. Brian Kern, welcome in, man. Let's see here. Right. Steve says, I told Shawn to use a pen and paper to mark times on notes for podcasts, which, yeah, I said, I've been trying to do that. I mean, y'all see me with this stupid highlighter in my hand half the time, floating around like little bunny foo-foo across the freaking screen. Well, at least those of you that are watching it, not listening to the podcast. But, and yeah, y'all see me, I've shown you where, I mean, my pile of dead trees is probably pushing about 5 inches now for all the episodes because, yeah, Steve and I are old. We're used to looking at stuff in pen and paper. I'm the guy that actually prints out a contract, reads all the legislation and everything with it and scribbles on stuff. So that's right. Using ink on dead trees like real men. Absolutely. So, Bubba Sue says something about must be a bear mace story. Steve says something about bear mace is the way to my heart. What are you? Oh, I don't know. We'll see. Truly is Steve. Brian. Mead for my friend Brian. I don't even know what happened with that one, Steve. Try and do good for what are people trying to do good for the world? Grow up. Hey, you know what, man? If they were actually trying to do good for the world and instead of trying to create division, I'd be all for it. If they're trying to do good for the world, they go in there and say, hey, we're here representing the union. And it seems like we have a training issue either with our drivers or a training issue with your parking people. That's how you fix freaking stuff. You don't sit there and go, they're all a bunch of damn racists, blah, 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 bull crap, bull crap, bull crap. And maybe they are. If they are, then address it and deal with it. But don't go running to the media and getting this petition and solely focusing on the allegations of it. Because the root cause of this is probably a combination of both. There's probably some drivers that are like, screw you, I'm going to park wherever I want, whenever I want. Or I have a job to do. I don't care about your rules. And then you probably have the other side of the spectrum that is like, I've got a little power. I've got a ticket book. I'm going to cite you. Okay, fine. Give me a ticket. I got other crap to do. Said that before too, and said that at the airport one time. And most people, they just want to exert their power and be acknowledged for their power. And so, anyway, you got me going on that again. Let's keep going here. Let's see. Bubba Sue says Gen X rules. Hell yeah. Can I get a hell yeah? All right. And buy boxes of participant awards and hand them out to various idiots throughout the day. Dude, let's find out when the CIDU meetings are and let's go hand those out there. What do you think? I mean, they have an office. It's right off Alameda. I've been in that office for a different event when I was with the co-op. And it's a big office. That's all I'm going to say. They got a lot of overhead, but they got $2 million from the state of Colorado to represent the drivers and not do that because that's not what they think their job is to do. I don't know, even though they're contractually obligated, but they're not helping anyone that I keep getting. Had a new one last week. A driver contact me that CIDU should probably at least give them some guidance and help and have some resources for them. But no, they come to me. I'm just a little freaking YouTuber that's not even a pimple on the butt of everything rideshare, but they have more confidence in me than they do in CIDU. Anyway, absolutely awesome, Amy, and welcome in, awesome Amy. If I didn't say that before, all right. Marking my time. I keep trying to mark the regular time, not how much time I've been into the show, though. So, all right. Steve, you're going to love this one, too. The robots won't die. I know everybody is talking about, Uber left them there. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. Well, I said that it's going to probably give them an opportunity to do some things that they didn't want to. Yes, Uber's now got their new little drone partner that they're going to be doing stuff with, but already Serve Robotics, which their shares rose 7.25% or 7.4%. I think it was pre-market, and the market's been tough this week. So I don't even care to compare, about the cause of it, because we still have all these global tensions going on. So no stock is performing like it should. People are either buying more because they're like, oh, I think it's because, we're still have all these global tensions going on. That's going to help. Or people are like, oh, I'm afraid of everything in the world because of all these global tensions. So so forget even what I said about the market. But what they've done is they're expanding their DoorDash relationships in now Washington, D.C. and San Jose, with a lot of it with Grubhub, and a new partnership with Wonder Group Inc., aka Grubhub. So, yes, when you see Wonder Group Inc., that's Grubhub. So again, LA, Chicago, and Alexandria, Virginia. So Alexandria, Virginia is kind of interesting. See what kind of checks they do there. Chicago, they just got more opportunity to run into bus stops and break glass, like we've seen happen in the videos and things too. So they're already moving ahead. I think they anticipated this separation, divorce, irreconcilable difference, whatever you want to call it. I mean, Uber's in love with drones. The whole drone thing. I mean, I know people are going to turn this, Steve, you're going to turn this on me when I say the same thing with eVTOL, but not, is that drones are very temperamental to the weather. And yes, will eVTOL be temperamental to the weather? More than an aircraft, yes, and more than a car, yes, but they're going to be better off, and there's a lot of ways they're going to be better than a helicopter and things too. But anyway, not talking about eVTOL yet. So they have also a micro depot that they're putting in Miami, and this is going to be for like a new staging area and things. So I think it's going to be kind of like they're evolving into kind of like what Waymo does with all of their stuff. So they'll have all that going on in there. And then they have an area in Washington, D.C. they're going to be doing this too. So they're getting a little more organized and less kitschy, I guess. Like it feels more like a business now with some of these things that they're trying to do instead of just some novelty. So I don't know. We'll see what's going on. And of course, we've heard all about the hospital robots and things like that, where they deliver meds and different things like that. They're coming out with a new version with it. So Serve Robotics has a lot going on. Is it going to change the food delivery market significantly? I don't think so, but I think there's going to be a space for it, but it's not a huge footprint that's going to change a whole lot of things. So Bubba Sue says Wonder's been using drones at one of their locations here for about 6 months. Really? Now, where in New Jersey is that, and what location? And gotta love the delay, so we can't kind of even quasi have a conversation about things going on with it. So anyway, that's what's going on with Serve, and I don't think they've been served as bad as Uber thinks, and a lot of the things are reporting with them. But I don't think they're going to be. I don't think it's going to springboard their stock at the same time either. But I think they have some opportunity for some growth in that. So, okay, Steve, this one's for you. There's a Lyft driver that must have been listening to you and pulled a chapter right out of your playbook, bud. Prince County, Georges, Maryland. TG for all you locals. Yeah, I spend enough time in there. I know it's called PG. And it's not a very desirable area of the world. But anyway, there was, and I'm laughing just because of one segment that I can't get out of my head on this. So there was a attempted carjacking against a Lyft driver, and it was a young teenager, and there was I even know where that is. Hardwick Ardmore Road. So that was where the incident occurred. That any of you East Coasters that know the PG area a little bit. So a teen boy requested the ride, which, okay, well, if he was a teen, it was under 18, then he wasn't eligible to ride with Lyft anyway, because they have a policy. They don't have Lyft Teen like Uber does. So, anyway, so she made the guy get over in the rear passenger side, because she felt he was acting suspicious. Okay, so she wanted to keep an eye on him. So she said, so apparently the would-be carjacker pulled a knife on her and demanded her key. So she said something about that, oh, it's in my app. I'm not sure what she means by her key being there, but maybe it was a Tesla. I don't know. But anyway, so apparently she reaches over, grabs a can of bear spray, sprays him, and it was dog spray, even though they call it bear spray. I saw the little video of it, but same. It's going to be a hot mess in your car. You're going to feel like you're creating your own Red Hot Chili Pepper concert, and I'm not talking about the Californication ones. But anyway, then after she pulls out the bear spray, she takes out her own knife. So now we've got a duel going on, pepper spray going off in the car, a duel going on. Now, here's where I keep laughing about it. She said, I sprayed him, I took out my knife, and I started juking with the knife. Now, I don't know, she's like, I mean, she must be a gamer, because the only thing, juking, it's got several different terms, but the only thing I can visualize her like, oh, come on, let's go. So anyway, I'm laughing at this woman, man. You can watch the interview. The link will be in the show notes, like I do, and put it out on the Patreon. Watch this. This woman, man, she was not one to be messed with, but hey, she lives in PG, Maryland, so you got to be tough there. I don't care who you are. Seems that he loves that woman. But yeah, she took it up a step. She advanced. She came in primary with the bear spray, and then secondary she went with the backup and tried to sword fight him inside with it. So anyway, then then this whole thing apparently continued to escalate. He went to take her phone, and then she jumped on top of the dude, and then they started fighting. Apparently, this is all the statements that are her words, and dude ended up getting arrested. So he apparently wrestled himself away from her and then took off. So she called 911. Some neighbor witnessed the attack. They later caught up with the kid, and was, I don't know. There's just so many great comments. Said, my instincts just kicked in and said, use your brain, because when I resisted the first time, he didn't do anything. I just said, oh, he's soft. He's not a real robber. He's not a real robber. Don't mess with her. She was lacking a taser otherwise. So Awesome Amy says, what an entertaining podcast tonight. I don't make it entertaining. I just find the entertaining stories and tell them and try and make them a little enjoyable in the process with it. But let's see here. Do we want to mark my time? I'm going to be a good little time, personal timekeeper boy. I don't know. I keep talking about all this legislation, all this other stuff, but I've got this other one where New Jersey. I'm just going to cover it really, really quickly. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because even I'm getting tired of legislation stuff for tonight, and I don't have another really great, funny story like this last one to come up with it. But so there was a situation where a vehicle struck somebody in they were a Lyft driver. I believe they killed him, and the pedestrian was uninsured, and the Lyft driver had a passenger, so they were in the prime period. They were in period 2 where everything's covered, right? Well, Lyft is saying, no, we're not covering that. You hit somebody. They were not a party to they weren't a party to all this. So we don't feel like we're responsible for it. Well, right now the New Jersey Appellate Court ruled that no, Lyft, their insurance is responsible for. They're obligated to provide to pay the personal injury protection on it. And of course, Lyft is saying no, they don't have to have the personal injury protection coverage. But right now, the appellate court, and I know this is going to get appealed again too, and that's the other reason I'm kind of shortcutting it. But if Uber or Lyft get their way with HR 8870, whatever the heck it was, 8850, 8870, this won't matter because they're just going to only have they will legally, by the federal government's legislation, say, nope, you can go sue the driver, you can go sue the driver's insurance company, but they don't have any they don't have any culpability for it because they weren't grossly negligent. So anyway, I'm not going to, this whole thing is a really, really long article. That's the gist of it really quickly without getting into the whole nuts and bolts and boring legalese stuff with it, because again, it's gonna get at least challenged. So we're not done hearing about that one, but keep an eye out on that one, Sue, and everybody else on the East Coast, because it will ultimately impact everybody, no matter what direction that goes with it. So. All right. Evetol. Guys, this is really kind of cool. And if you don't think it's cool, put your whole I hate the Jetsons idea. Just if you could dismiss all of this for one moment. And this is actually something where we're not talking about passenger eVTOL in commercial sense, but a different use of the eVTOL vehicles. And as I talked about, with like Joby, they're getting into defense contracts and so on and so forth. And, I mention every once in a while about companies doing personal eVTOLs. And this is something really cool that's being used currently and actually has done its job. So this is a real EMS vehicle. It's by its own, well, it's not owned, it's being used by the Hyde County Emergency Medical Services. And for those of you that want to say this is just, it's fake, it's not real, you can look at that tail number. In fact, I got the tail number in the show notes, so you can click the link and go onto the FAA website and see that's a real tail number, that N909HB. But a paramedic in rural North Carolina He did over 300 different, besides the flight hours and stuff, he did 300 different training scenarios and so on and so forth. And they now have an experimental aircraft license with this. And they've used this thing to, I'm trying to move it. It's kind of annoying me where it's at right. Wrong one. Anyway, I guess we're going to just leave well enough alone before I screw everything up here. And anyway, so this is kind of a cool use of it. And they've flown a couple missions with it. And one of them, or they were dispatched. But anyway, one time they actually beat the traditional ambulance by 20 minutes. So it was able to take this thing, go to the GPS coordinates, land it. And again, it's going to have certain uses in some places, other places not. If it wanted to land in the cul-de-sac in my neighborhood right here, yep, perfect. But it's not going to, without blocking off traffic and all other things, like, when you're creating a landing zone for a helicopter, it gets a lot more complicated. So this isn't going to be for every scenario, but for rural applications, even wilderness applications where there's like meadows and things like that, we had landing zones and stuff for search and rescue areas. This would be a great thing to be able to bring in people. It's only a single passenger vehicle, but you can get some basic equipment in there and a few other things. But this one came in and they were able to administer aid to the person, like I said, 20 minutes before that could happen. When you get in this situation, rural stuff is really bad. Get a lot of life-threatening bleeding with stuff with farm equipment and things this could be the difference of somebody living or dying. And I think there's some great opportunity with this and some great things going on. Hyde County covers over 1,500 square miles, so it's not a small county, and I'm guessing most of it is. It says 1,500 square miles of land and water. In eastern North Carolina, so there's a whole lot of opportunity. Shoreline and other things on the coastal side of that with North Carolina. You got a paramedic and a jump bag, you can do a whole lot of good with that. So, in a jump bag, they have stuff, they have a cardiac monitor, they probably have a defibrillator, they'll have airway supplies to intubate or at least open up an airway. They'll have an oxygen bottle, some basic supplies and things like that with them. They're not going to have a whole ambulance. They'll have some meds in their jump bag, some basic meds, and so I think this is really cool, guys. And yeah, I'm not going to sit there and do another Joe B. Archer aviation story tonight about eVTOL. But these are kind of things. Technology is going to do some cool stuff to help us, and it's appropriate use of technology. It's kind of like a flock camera. There's opportunity to do some things good. Excuse me. And they're starting to already make a difference with it. So that's what we got for eVTOL tonight. See, I was pretty nice to you, and didn't tell you that Joby's going to be flying in Dubai next week or anything like that. But anybody know, is Joby flying in Dubai next week? No, they're not flying in Dubai next week. They're still waiting for their operating authority in a whole lot of different places. But so that's it. It's called the Black Fly, that little craft is. And what else was I forgot what who the company is, but anyway, they work and they develop a whole bunch of different protocols and stuff like that. So they're on the ground floor of this, and it's gonna make a difference. And hopefully you don't ever have a loved one that needs the services, but if you do, then hopefully they'll be there near you. Guys, I'm getting a really dry throat, so we're going to wrap this up We got episode 29 on the books. Thursday, come out to the same time. Well, maybe not 8:02, but maybe 8 o'clock. And watch Steve and I. We got a whole lot of different things to talk about. We're looking to kind of change up some stuff in the future and have some fun. And so, guys, while I can still talk a little tiny bit, thanks. Appreciate y'all. Have a good night. Be safe out there.